And you've just heard Dear Ones by Housekind from the EP The Foam Road. And I'm joined now by Housekind themselves. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well, Ali. Thanks so much for having me on here. It's great to chat to you.
And to you, and I can't wait to talk to you about, well, first of all, the EP and the songs on it. What can you kind of tell us about them?
Yeah, so they were recorded last June with Robin Dawson in her bedroom studio. Very is quite a low budget DIY, very much that kind of project where, I've had a lot of songs going around in my head for years, and OK Pal, who are like a wee independent DIY label, they just said to me, do you want to do some stuff together? So we started to collaborate together, and that's been amazing. It's just everything's worked out as you go. There's no kind of it's just very kind of authentic, and very kind of just working things out and being very like respectful. And so that's been really, really good to work with them. And then while I was recording it, actually, there's a song called Salt Shield on the track, and I wrote it a couple of years ago, but it was going around in my head, and I thought it just needs something, it needs a little kick. So I thought in my head, I went for a walk, and I just heard like a bow run in there. So I gave my friend Callum a call and said, would you put some bow run on the track? And it sounded so good that I said, here, man, do you want to play Hidden Door? So that was that. And then, luckily we've been just playing a good few gigs since, and it's just great. It's a great, it just feels really good playing music together with Callum. So recorded, all of it was really done. It was done really over a year, because people getting time to do things, and Robin, who produced the album, the EP, she like did loads of like arranging and strings and things, and really brought like stuff out in me that I was probably like always been a little bit cautious,
Right.
Like with the kind of experimentation things, I'm just like, okay, there's the song, but then other people are like, okay, what else, like what else have you got? So I was like, okay, so bringing in the accordion, and then layering like sounds, layering all these tracks with the accordion, and then bringing in the baron and all the strings and kind of synths, sounds and things that were kind of created by all of us, really was just kind of really unexpected.
That's so interesting. So of course, you write the song and you've got this in your head. And do you write, on guitar, or I mean, how does it do it initially?
Yeah, usually it's guitar, and there are occasions where something will just kind of come out of you fully formed, and you just think, what was that, where did that come from, but usually it'll start with a little guitar kind of riff for a couple of chords, or sometimes it just starts with a melody as well, that's actually harder to work around. When I get back, like I do have a piano as well that I use. I have bouzouki, I have a wee accordion, and I like have a bit of a drum kit in the house as well. So it kind of depends on the day, and the rhythm and the song, the melody. What I'm like, oh, what's gonna help me here? I mean, with the Foam Road, that was kind of accidental, because I initially wrote that one on piano, and I was like, oh yeah, and had this little bit in the middle, but then I was performing it at a songwriter night, and there was no piano there, So I was like, oh no. And they're like, oh, just sing it, And that was, so I just sang it, and then I was like, oh, actually, that sounds actually better on its own, And then Robin is like, let's just put a wee drone on that, and it just kind of worked out. So sometimes things are just totally accidental. There's a lot of happy accidents, put it that way, on the on the EP.
Is that one of the joys about collaborating and working with other people, is that they make you see your own music with completely new ways, or give you new ideas?
100%. Like even like Callum and I were having a chat there last week, and he was saying like, it's completely changed the way I play, and I was like, I change when I play with you, so it's kind of that thing. And I think it's a really good thing, because it's like you're creating something new there, like, be no good sticking to what you're just really rigid, keeping really rigid to your own. You're never really kind of evolving that way, so I think it is important. It's something I'd like to do a lot more of. This year there's a couple of people I'm thinking it'd be nice to do a little bit, you know, like Mike McKenzie now. I'm thinking of, you know, doing a wee thing with him. And there's a couple of kind of bands in Edinburgh, you know, yeah, like that I'm thinking it would be nice to do some, just see what happens. But you know, it's something I've shied away from for like quite a long time, I think, until now. And now I'm just like, oh, I want to collaborate with everybody.
Is that because, I mean, I was reading your kind of bio, and you were kind of brought up with Irish folk music, weren't you? That was the kind of thing.
Yeah.
And often with traditional folk music, you feel that the song is everything. It's almost like a sacred thing, and you don't mess around with it, you know. Is that
exactly true? Man, yeah, that's the thing. And I think, like, you know, there's definitely that feeling, and you know, like, it's so much in the culture, like, you know, if you someone gives you a guitar, okay, do one, and you think, oh gosh, you know, I hope this goes, and it's got to be like perfect. It's got to be perfect. And I think there's a lot of amazing kind of discipline and, you know, craft and all of that in that. But then there's something also about that like puts people off, you know, if they're not gonna deliver it, you know, just so. And I think there is something a wee bit limiting about that too, you know. It's like, whereas if you can find a happy medium, you know, and it's good, you know, find that way where like, okay, I'm going to deliver this, but like, let's leave a bit of space here, you know, for something to happen. Yeah.
I'd be interested to know how you experience kind of folk music in Scotland, because it seems to me that the newer generation of people playing are experimenting and are maybe doing different genre things, and, you know, whatever. Is that something that you've found?
Oh, 100%. Like, you know, yeah, since coming here, it's been great, you know, and even listening to, you know, bands emerging, like who've been emerging for a couple of years now, you know, the Gloaming, you know, for example, and Lankum, and people who are just kind of really, yeah, putting a lot of different things into the mix. And I think that was a big inspiration for me, thinking, because, you know, I was always a bit like, what's going on here with me? You know, what is, like, you know, rock, indie, all of these influences, all, you know, sort of, you know, electronic, even all of these different things. And I was like, but how does this work with like what's in my brain? You know, how does all of this come together? So it's been really good, yeah, just hearing. And yeah, like, I mean, a lot of even just folk sessions in Scotland, like in Edinburgh, you know, around the kind of usual suspects, you know, Royal Oak, Sandy Bells, you know, all these places, you know, you just find all kinds of stuff happening, and it's amazing, you know, everything's welcome. That's what I love about it. And that's really been a great inspiration for me, just being like, oh, hang on a second, people are playing tunes here. That's amazing. And then it's like, well, wait, somebody's doing, you know, an Oasis cover, or, you know, or something. And, you know, it's all, and then someone might pipe in on the fiddle, you know, and it's kind of just bringing things together and having that sense of openness and yeah, that kind of no judgment. We're just all kind of, you know, creating together and collaborating and having a good time. And it's all for the music, like almost like no matter what's going on, it's just that togetherness in music, isn't it?
I think that's the thing, from an outside, is that people seem to have the freedom to bring in all their influences, instead of maybe saying, well, tonight I'm going there, it's a folk night, and then I'll go home and I'm listening to an indie band, or you know, it's like, well, I can bring anything I want into this and see what happens.
100%, yeah. And I, like, you know, it has been a slightly kind of different. I do, you know, myself, my cousin were talking about this. It was so funny because, you know, he grew up obviously in kind of southwest Donegal with it, and, you know, learned fiddling, has this beautiful fiddle style. And but, you know, he would have had a teacher that was pretty, like, you know, what you were saying earlier, like, you don't mess with the song, you know, make sure you get that right, you know. But we were talking about the etiquette around sessions and things like that, and like even at home compared to here and things, like it's really tricky. Like, you know, at home, like there's all of these rules, and, you know, I don't even know the half of them. And then here there's different rules again, you know. Like at home you would always wait to be offered. Like if you head into a pub and there's a group of musicians there, like they will eventually, because they know you, and they think, oh yeah, Shay, like you'll do a song, you know, of course, but you wouldn't rush into that, you know. You'd be maybe at the bar, you'd get a pint, and then you wait to be asked over, and then you play one song and you pass the guitar on. But here I've found, if you don't, and it's not, there's no right or wrong, obviously, but it's just interesting. It's like, if I don't say, can I do a song?
Yeah.
No chance you're gonna, you know.
You can't get a space in there because everyone else is waiting.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, actually, that's not strictly the case all of the time, but I've just found, and maybe it's just about knowing people as well, you know, but even if people do know you a wee bit, they'll just, you know, unless maybe they get a break or something. And yeah, it's kind of just different. So there's so many rules around it all, the session thing, you know, so it's hard to know sometimes. But
And you mentioned that you've been in bands before.
yeah.
Was it starting well a solo project? You know, one that's, you know, at least to begin with, it's you.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a bit kind of yeah, like I've been in so many bands, like a lot playing bass and kind of indie and punk bands. I've done a bit of drumming. I've, you know, sang harmony, a lot of kind of, yeah, quite kind of raj stuff, and also like indie and just a mixture, you know, of things. So I just kind of thought, yeah, it might be nice to see what happens if I start like just with me, and see what builds from there, you know. So it was a bit scary. And then of course with COVID and everything else, it didn't quite, you know, it took a while, obviously, you know, because nobody was going anywhere and all that. But yeah, now it's just kind of gained a bit of momentum, and it's feeling like a really good thing, quite freeing, you know, because you can bring people in and yeah, like kind of offer things, and yeah, like have that flexibility, I think is really good, you know. You know, so it's kind of like I think like part of the reason I wanted to do this solo as well is just so that like I'd be like, right, well, if the foundation is me, then I can always be there if I decide to be somewhere, you know, and then whoever else is free can just join, and it's great if they decide to join, you know, and it's okay if they're busy, you know, that kind of way. So I think that feels actually quite freeing. Yeah.
You mentioned that a lot of it was done in bedrooms and things like that, which of course during lockdown that was the case. If people wanted to make music, that was the thing. But one of the things I think people have learnt how to make really good music that way. Obviously the technology is different than it was maybe previously, but is that something that you found has come on leaps and bounds?
Well, yeah, I mean, like it's interesting as well because like with Robin, like it was actually her first time ever recording an EP.
Right.
And she, like that, you know, did an amazing job, and is super talented and creative, and you know, it worked out really well. So, you know, yeah, she was learning a lot as she went along about, you know, we had like her mattress, you know, stacked up against the wall, and you know, like you know, various bits of equipment borrowed, you know, from sort of friends and things. So it was pretty yeah, I mean, you know, we did it all just very kind of yeah, and it was quite relaxed, you know, in a way as well, just because you didn't have that pressure of like, oh gosh, you know.
Do it by 8 o'clock, we're out by 8 o'clock, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Although we were a bit like, are you tired? No, are you okay? Well, we carry on. You know?
I guess that's the opposite thing. You could just kind of keep on going till you're ready to fall. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you realize, oh, we didn't actually do anything there because we were too tired. No, we found a good balance, you know, like it took a while at the start because like we didn't know each other super well, like when we first began. Well, we know each other really well now, you know. And you know, it was really fun, and like, you know, we kind of ate together and we chatted, got to know each other, and that was all really like feels really just like a really important part of the whole thing, you know, like yeah, just that coming together and yeah, like spending time with people. It's quite special actually, you know, to just be able to really get stuck into something and yeah, and really go for it. And yeah, it was great. So
it does sound as though it all happened. It feels natural that, you know, these are the people you're working with. And let's talk about OK Pal Records, as you say, a fantastic indie record label, a proper indie record label, you know, who things and do their own covers, and you know, sometimes we'll knit things and send them out to people who are involved. I've had that from them. You know, they're a fantastic record label in that sense. So is that the same thing where this is a perfect home for me and my music?
Yeah, like actually 100%, you know, and like it's amazing. I'm so grateful to them because like years ago, like when I was with the Watch Thieves and stuff, like Faith and Haley came to see us play, and I had like handmade all of these kind of CD covers, you know, and sort of drawn everyone individually, and I had a wee stack of them, you know, at the stage, and they got one, and they really like, they just came up to me afterwards and were very like supportive, and they're like, we love your music. And you know, it was, and I'd heard both of them play, you know, as songwriters themselves, and I always absolutely adored their voices, their music. It just kind of resonated with me. So for them to come up and say that was like, oh, this is class, you know, thank you so much, this is great. So then, yeah, they kind of, when they told me they were starting a wee label, they're like, we're going to get you on the label, you know. It was kind of this thing that was, you know, building up for, you know, a wee while. And yeah, it is really, really amazing, because like the format of the EP is actually like a zine, you know, which have fanzines, yeah. So like I was kind of obsessed with fanzines, you know, over the years, like just kind of getting to know a lot of people who were, you know, in that culture here in Edinburgh, and all of the different topics, you know, you can learn about all of these amazing things, you know, like, you know, I remember ones about like consent, and then, you know, there was ones about kind of witchcraft, and there's ones about like, yeah, herbalism, and all of these subjects that you're kind of, it's quite hard to just find those specific things like condensed and researched kind of independently. And, you know, it was great. And I just thought, when I was chatting to Faith about the format, you know, I said, yeah, I don't really think a CD, no, CDs are kind of, obviously, I was like, yeah, but digital doesn't feel quite right. And I was like, what about, I was going to draw each song, I'm going to make a drawing for each song and put the lyrics in, you know, because, you know, when you're going through this, you know, back in the day, the records and TC, that was my favorite part. Okay. Looking at all the information, you know, the lyrics. And I thought, I want that there. So we decided to, yeah, make the zine, and then I made a couple of badges and stuff for the show. So it felt kind of, you know, bringing a bit of that kind of aesthetic and ethos, you know, in. And so that's how we're selling it. It's available from Bandcamp as an EP. So you just go to OKPal and they have it like kind of there. You can order from them. So it's great, like, because then you have a thing, you know.
That's a great idea, because I think, you know, people still like to have, as you say, a thing. It's interesting to me the way that, you know, Kindles were supposed to destroy the book, but yet the book has made a comeback, and magazines and all sorts of things, because people do like to have it in the hand. Yeah, and I think it's one of the downsides of, well, many downsides of perhaps of digital music. It's great to have something that you can say, yeah, that is that. And as you say, read the lyrics and maybe see who's playing on the tracks and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, you know, it is. It's because, yeah, like that's something that we're kind of, you know, you just lose a wee bit. I've found now since, you know, I've started listening to things on different digital things, you just like, it's almost, there's a part of the connection that's missing there, you know, for me now. Because like, but like, where's the information? Like, where's all the really geeky detailed things I want to know about this thing? Where are they, you know? So it's like, I'm going to give that to people, you know. So yeah, it's been good. And, you know, yeah, like, yeah, a couple of people bought them at the launch and stuff. So it's nice that they're kind of, it just feels like it's more out there as well, you know, like you might do digital release and it's a bit like, you know, it's almost a bit of an anticlimax, you know, like when the single came out, it was the 16th of June. It was cool, but I couldn't feel it, you know, that way. And I was like, what's going on here, you know? But then at the launch, it was like, oh, okay, you know, it's here.
Absolutely. I mean, so I've got even postcards that I've got the code for it, but at least you've got something that's maybe been created by the band themselves, the arts by the band or something, and you have that thing that you could stick on your wall. In fact, I've got one of Hayley's on my walls here.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So you have got that kind of thing.
Totally. And like, you know, I love that OKPal, you know, it was just everything is welcome, you know, all ideas are welcome. And you know, Hayley and Faith, you know, they both make art as well as music, and I make art as well as music. So yeah, and it just kind of, just that real kind of genuine human, like, you know, kind of working things out as you go, and like, what about this? Oh no, what about this? Yeah, okay, you know. And it's just really nice to have that freedom as well, like, and just kind of like, we're all kind of doing this thing, you know, and also kind of, yeah, I suppose being part of like maybe a bit of a cultural shift in a way too, you know, towards a more collaborative approach to like, you know, actually releasing music and doing music, you know, in this way. So like that feels great too, you know, to be part of that.
So talking about indie, the first release from the EP was C90. Where does the name come from? Because I've got my ideas, but I'd like to hear you say it.
Yeah, so basically a couple of years ago, I got the idea in my head that I was obsessed with the wee C90 motorbikes, you know, the vintage Hondas, and I saw one, and it looked like, the guy told me it was in fine condition and everything else. He said, yeah, it's past its MOT, everything. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to get it. I just passed my kind of CBT and everything else. I was like, right, I'm ready. Hit the road, So I took it out, and on the third time I took it out, there was a problem with the bike, and I was actually on my way to a garage to get it sorted, but the throttle got stuck. And luckily, I say luckily, but luckily I was not too far away from a really big green metal gate, right? So the throttle was stuck, it wouldn't brake. So my only choice was to actually crash. So I deliberately had to crash the bike to stop it.
Right.
So I veered left on impact, because I knew that I would hit the nose and I would fall on the left-hand side, and I wouldn't go crash straight on, and I had the gear on, everything, the helmet and all the rest. So basically, luckily enough, this fella took me to the hospital, and very little damage. I dislocated my left elbow. It was very minimal. I was so lucky. But of course, they put you on morphine and everything else for the pain. So, there was probably some kind of hallucinations going on, back flying around in a motorbike. At the same time, I was only after having played a gig at the Piano Dome. Do you know those guys, the Piano Dome?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
It was beautiful down there. Like, I love it down there. You're just in among all of this debris, like all of these broken piano bits and everything. So, back playing out burnt piano keys beginning, it's sort of almost like this hallucination of an image in my head. And it just all came together, with the kind of process and that, I suppose, what would have happened, but also then some of those images and memories of like actually being kind of quite high on morphine in the hospital as well, and just kind of going, so yeah, it kind of just came together in this way that was like, it just felt very kind of like, like almost processing what had happened, but also kind of, there's a lot of things going on in songs, isn't there? It's never about one thing. At least mine are never about one thing. They're always layered, and they're kind of, they connect, they weave. It's like this kind of tapestry, and it just kind of weaves in, and things just kind of slot into place. You're kind of pulling things nearly like a painting, and you're kind of pulling things in. So yeah, just kind of, that was what that was about. Yeah.
That was not the story I thought we were going to get.
Really?
No, I thought that C90, now in the 80s, in the late 80s, there was the C90 kind of indie music movement, and C90 was the length of cassette. So you used to get a 30-minute cassette, a 60-minute cassette, and a 90-minute cassette. And C90s is often kind of Sarah Records, or just really lo-fi indie stuff. And I presume that's what it was referring to when I first heard it. So there you go, get all these different things. And then when you started talking about your motorbike, I went, oh, okay, right, okay. Yeah.
Do you know, it's what a coincidence, actually, because I wouldn't have, I hadn't come across that information myself, but now that you say that, it's funny the way your kind of unconscious mind works as well, because of course, when I was younger, I recorded numerous things onto cassette tapes, because that was, in the 90s, there was no real, that was like, something comes on the radio, press record, quick, you always have the blank tapes ready to go. So I would have probably seen that C90. That would have been probably, and in some way, there's a chance that it is connected, like, in some very, kind of unconscious way.
It was very much the recording device of the real DIY indie scene, because for that very reason, you stuck a cassette in and then you went away and played, and that was,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, that was all the mixtapes I ever had, when I was kind of growing up. That was exactly how it was, yeah.
And are you going to be, you mentioned you had a launch. Are you going to be playing further live gigs? Is that coming up?
Myself and Callum are actually taking the summer to do some writing. There's a couple of new songs kind of bubbling, and it'd be great to get an album, out, in the foreseeable. We're kind of going to be looking at some stuff, around that, and ways that we can maybe do that, and get some collaborators in on that as well. That'd be something to really look forward to,
Fantastic. Well, when the album is there and when the gigs are coming, let us know and we'll tell everyone about it. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Me too, man. Thanks, Ali.
And this is Housekind and C90.